We'll talk about scale, which is the 6th stage, and this identifies all of the systems beyond the critical client flow. We want to define the critical business systems to operate without key person dependency. So it moves beyond that. It's the 80-20 of the whole business. Now, the more businesses that we've worked with, and if you think, when you read the book, I effectively, and I don't call it TDWMQA, but the approach I go through is effectively that approach. The more that we worked with, the more I realized we needed to break these down into sprints. Because smaller businesses, it was fine. But when you started to work with bigger businesses and bigger teams, again, you just started to reach that situation of overwhelm. So the minimum viable systems was a great way to do that because the boxes are only little. You can only fit a certain number of systems into those boxes, which means you have to make decisions on what are the essential systems. And we've already covered a little bit about that, but that's effectively your second sprint. The critical client flow is the first sprint. The MVS is your second sprint. And then the third one, and I think it was Mark had commented, where sometimes you will see the HR systems covered inside this MVS, but I've pulled it out because you might want to go to work on and do some specific work on those systems, and it might take a little bit more time. And you might, as part of the MVS, capture what you're currently doing, not what you would like to be doing. But in this next sprint, you do capture what you would like to be doing because you're going to be engineering some of these HR systems. So the distinction being in the MVS, we focus on capturing what you would like to do, not what you are doing, not what you would like to do. Whereas this HR sprint, this is when we actually go to work on building these systems from the ground up. And the systems that you want to be thinking about, it's in 3 main areas: recruitment, onboarding, and management. And it's about building systems into your DNA. So recruitment, you want to think about your job ads, and you think about what are some lines that you can put into those job ads that right up front mentions that you're a systems-driven company. So you can start to repel those right from the get-go who feel they might not fit into your culture. You add it into your questionnaire. And what are some questions that you can ask? You add it into the interview process. That's all about the recruitment. Then for your onboarding, you will think about, what are the series of activities that someone would do over the course of the first 2 to 3 weeks of working with you? What do they do on day number 1? What videos are they watching? What of those 3 to 5 systems that you've identified as essential, repeatable, and delegatable that they learn within that first 3-week bracket? And building in that video that you make with the business owner about the critical client flow and teaching your tools and how it works and how it integrates together. There's a bit of work that goes on just in that onboarding system and having the checklist and linking through to the relevant resources and thinking about how someone would progress through those. And then the management component has to do with thinking about how you're going to reward people using systems and how you can encourage and delegate team members or encourage team members to delegate their tasks down, and making sure that you create some systems and some training for your management team on how they use the overcoming resistance framework. Develop some training for your team and to be able to handle those situations when a team member doesn't follow process. And what does that look like? Who knows? You might even be crazy like us. And I can't find it just now, but I've got the little screenshot. It's just little. That's a picture of our values. I have systems thinking as one of our values. Now, you might not be as crazy as that and put it on one of your company values, but I kind of want to give you the idea of the lengths to which we have gone to really add systems into the fabric of our business. Just remember that when thinking about your HR processes, every business is a school. So how would you approach things if your new team members were students? How would you craft those lessons? How could you make your school a select entry school where you only let certain students in? How would you set up and standardize your onboarding and induction process for those new students to come on board and understand the way that things work? How would you lead and manage those students to produce extraordinary results? Every new student needs those 3 to 5 systems that they can cut their teeth on and give them a chance to learn and skill up. And if you haven't watched, there's a couple of videos I posted inside the community for McDonald's University. And I'm not suggesting, or Hamburger University, where you can study hamburgerology. I'm not suggesting that you necessarily go to that level, but it just gives you some thinking around how they role play and how they teach and how they train up managers so that they can produce these extraordinary results. Again, that's way down the track, and they've gone to extreme lengths. You may never reach that, but it'll definitely give you some ideas. And once you get through the critical client flow, the minimum viable systems, and then those HR systems, the last one I'm going to give you here is the TDWMQA systems, which is the triggered daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual systems. Now, again, this is in the spreadsheet, and there's a sheet just here where I've got those headings, and you brainstorm each of the different departments. In marketing, what are triggered tasks? What happen on a certain trigger? For sales, that might be when an inquiry comes in. Well, that's the trigger. Whereas there might be certain activities that happen daily. You might go, oh, this is the Facebook daily posts. And you can start off by populating what you've already done. But then you work with department heads to think about, are there other things that may have been missed? And then this ends up becoming your 4th sprint. And then it starts to turn into a little bit of a game, and you highlight. We've got a bit of a coding, a color coding thing here where it's not colored means it's been identified, but you haven't done anything. Orange means you're working on it, and green means it's done and complete and to a great standard. Each one of these sprints is about identifying 15 to 20, 25 at most. You probably don't even want to go up that high, but thinking of the number of systems that you're going to work on in that sprint. It's on the spreadsheet. Before you go completely crazy, just a word of caution at this point. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. I've given you a full 12 months worth of work here. Just focus on the here and now. Start off with the critical client flow, go through to completion before you move through each of the different stages. This is just me trying to get everything out for you. So your action item being, once you've done your critical client flow, then you complete your MVS and you transfer that straight into your systems assign sheet. You can miss the DRTC because at this point you've already identified your departments, and that's when you start to define your 2nd sprint of work. If you get lost, ask a systemologist. This video was a quick snippet from the Business Systems Accelerator. If you wanted to find out more about that, head over to systemology.com/membership to check out the full program, and I'll see you in the next video.